I want to make it very clear that I'm neutral on this ground because I go to court of international courts in ICC and Old Bailey. I've made so many applications there. There is a point that I want to make very clear to Ugandans. One, sanctions, whether targeted or overall, affect our country. And anything that affects our country, I defend. I defend my country anywhere I go on planet Earth. So any sanctions against Uganda, any Ugandan, I will always defend. Like I defended on the question of Zimbabwe. I'm the only man in sub-Saharan Africa who made applications in the European Court of Justice and the British courts to remove sanctions on the ministers and on Mugabe until I removed them on the ministers and Mugabe died with sanctions. Sanctions are not very good, whether targeted or overall. That's very important. And anybody calling them to come to our country, anybody calling them to come to our country, I'm not saying you should not look for people who have stolen money. I'm not part of that. I'm not part of Uganda systems that should look for people who have stolen what, but in part of international law, international arena, American sanctions or British sanctions are very, very dangerous. Once they start like that, they will go to another one. They have now told us they have another list, a long one. So the president and the Minister of Foreign Affairs should work to make sure that they should avail this list.
Doc, I'm sorry to interject, but I've got to. Where has this idea of sanctioning people ever worked?
Sanctions punish all the masses. They don't punish individuals. In Zimbabwe, they punished masses. If you sanction ministers, if you sanction the Speaker of National Assembly, who has 600 members of parliament, you are killing that institution. You are killing the country. Because it means the Speaker will not go to meet people and exchange views with other people and bring the views back to our country. So sanctions have worked nowhere, except they have created misery, division, regime change against states. Especially you see in Zimbabwe, which I defended up to now. I defend against sanctions against Mnangagwa and Chiwenga. I am the one who has said no, enough is enough on the question of sanctions. And the basic thing we have got to do is Uganda to wake up and go to the International Court of Justice. Let's lay this case to the Court of Justice. What is it that Americans always see, which we don't see? What is it that the British have seen, which we don't see? For example, we are all members of the Commonwealth. And let's explain to the people properly. The Commonwealth law is very clear that you are proved guilty. Until you are proved guilty, you cannot be sentenced halfway. Some of the people that have been sanctioned are already in court. They haven't cleared their names. We don't know whether they are guilty or not guilty. Now you have convicted them. What about tomorrow when they come and say they are cleared? Who is to laugh here? So Commonwealth law does not allow you to convict a person until you take that person, her or he, you take them to court and prove that they were guilty. So that is where we have a mistake. Another thing that I want to add, Kasumba, it is a tragedy that from the experience that I saw in Zimbabwe, Changarai went on calling for these sanctions, telling Europe, come, see where we are now. So we should not take it lightly. We should challenge if there are people who have taken money, those who have stolen. I don't defend anybody because I don't like corruption myself. But if there is a rule of law,
Doc, unfortunately, I've
got rule of law.
Doc, unfortunately, I've run out of time. I wish I had more time, Doc, but thank you.